What if the very things you're doing right now to feel, you know, free, like scrolling your phone for an hour on the couch or just buying whatever you want on a whim, what if those are actually the exact things building your cage?
Right. It completely flips the whole standard definition of liberty right on its head. I mean, we usually associate freedom with just a total lack of constraints, don't we?
We really do. And every year we have this massive cultural celebration of independence, right? Around the 4th of July.
Oh, for sure. Fireworks, barbecues.
Exactly. We wave flags and celebrate this really grand historical idea of freedom. And it's an incredibly powerful concept. But if you strip away the parades and look at just like a random Tuesday morning, defining personal freedom gets a lot messier.
It does. It gets super complicated.
Because the default assumption for most of us is that freedom means no boss, no alarm clock, no obligations, just doing what you want when you want.
Right. The dream of zero friction. And that assumption is precisely what we're going to deconstruct today. Because chasing that specific brand of unconstrained short-term freedom usually leads to a really profound sense of feeling trapped.
And that is the mission of this deep dive. We are going to decode how we actually achieve personal freedom in our daily lives.
Yeah, and the answer might be the exact opposite of what we've been conditioned to expect.
So to figure this out, we're digging into a really fascinating article from the Self-Defense Academy, COS.
Yeah.
They're based in Colorado Springs, and it's titled Freedom Through Jiu-Jitsu.
Such a great piece.
It really is. But before we actually get onto the physical mats, we are setting the philosophical stage with a hypnotic, honestly incredibly intense music track.
Yeah, the one by Akira the Dawn.
Right, featuring a spoken word philosophy of former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink.
It's intense, but the song functions as a perfect theoretical framework for what that article demonstrates in actual practice.
So let's start with that framework. This track is relentlessly built around one basically violently repeated mantra, which is discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, he doesn't let up on that.
He really doesn't. And Jocko lays out these real-world equations for the listener. He argues that, like, if you want more free time, you need a highly disciplined time management system.
Right.
If you want financial freedom, you need long-term financial discipline. And if you want physical freedom, the ability to move without pain, you have to have the discipline to eat healthy and work out.
He's establishing this really direct, uncompromising line of causality because, I mean, our culture tends to view discipline and freedom as polar opposites.
Oh, absolutely. Discipline is the rigid schedule and freedom is the weekend.
Exactly. But Jocko argues that discipline is actually the prerequisite for freedom.
Okay, but I have to push back here for a second, just on behalf of anyone listening who is already totally overwhelmed.
Fair enough.
Because this sounds exhausting. I mean, waking up at 4:30 in the morning, doing tedious tasks you absolutely do not want to do, constantly policing your own behavior. That sounds like a self-imposed prison. Where is the joy in a life that's just a relentless checklist of hard things?
Well, let's look at the mechanics of what happens when we avoid those hard things. If we break down the psychology of the easy path, giving in to whatever you desire in the moment, we're really just talking about being a slave to short-term dopamine hits.
Okay.
When you lack financial discipline, right, and you just buy whatever gives you a rush today, the mathematical reality is that tomorrow you are trapped by debt.
Oof, yeah.
And debt is a very real, literal cage that dictates where you can live and what jobs you can take. If you lack physical discipline and just eat what tastes good in the moment, eventually your health deteriorates.
Right. Disease and low mobility, those are cages too.
Exactly. It's a cage built out of short-term comfort. So the lack of discipline creates the very restrictions we think we're avoiding. We choose the couch because it feels like freedom in the moment, but it's actually building the bars of our own cell.
Wow. So the discipline, like waking up early, budgeting, it feels like an uphill, painful road in the moment.
It feels restrictive.
Yeah. But it's the only vehicle that reliably transports you to genuine health, intelligence, and autonomy. It's basically the neuroscience of delayed gratification.
Spot on. That is the theoretical foundation.
Okay, so that makes sense conceptually.
Yeah.
But understanding the psychology of delayed gratification is one thing. Actually getting your body and brain to execute it when you're stressed out is an entirely different battle.
Oh, 100%.
And this is where I want to really dive deep into the article from the Self-Defense Academy, COS, because it transitions us from that theory into a physical laboratory. Like, how do you operationalize this discipline when you're already drowning?
And the author provides a case study right out of the gate that I think a lot of people will find uncomfortably familiar.
Yes, the story of a student named Sarah. So she's a single mom of two, and when she walked through the doors of this academy, she wasn't looking to become some cage fighter.
Not at all.
She was drowning in a very modern form of captivity.
Yeah.
She was overwhelmed by work responsibilities, parenting duties, and most notably, and I relate to this so much, the endless, relentless pinging of notifications on her phone.
It's brutal. She was suffering from a total collapse of attention.
Yeah, she felt totally paralyzed. All she wanted was the freedom to just be present with her own children without her brain pulling her in 1,000 different directions.
Right. Think about your brain's random access memory, your RAM.
Like a computer.
Exactly. You have a strict biological capacity limit on your processing power. So when you're processing an email from your boss, worrying about what to cook for dinner, and mentally scrolling through a social media feed all at the exact same time.
You're allocating a tiny fraction of processing power to each thing.
Yes. The fan on your internal hard drive is just spinning out of control, the system is overheating, and you can't actually execute a single task effectively.
It's like having 50 browser tabs open at once.
I love that analogy, and when a system's RAM is maxed out like that, you can't just wish it into functioning smoothly. You have to force a hard reboot.
And for Sarah, the physical practice of jiu-jitsu served as that hard reboot.
It did. The article highlights the Academy's use of the Valente brothers method, which was developed by Pedro Gris and Joaquim Valente.
Which is fascinating because for anyone unfamiliar, this specific method does not prioritize aggression or brute strength or the macho posturing you might expect from a martial art.
Right. It's entirely rooted in efficiency, technique, and a really profound level of mindfulness.
So let's look at the biomechanics of how that mindfulness is actually forced upon the student. The article notes that the first step for Sarah was simply leaving her phone in her bag.
Which is a huge step for a lot of us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But that's just the environmental trigger. The real intervention happens on the mat. When someone is physically grabbing your wrist or you're defending against a choke, you are suddenly dealing with an immediate, undeniable reality.
You literally cannot allocate any RAM to your grocery list when someone is trying to submit you.
You'd get crushed.
Exactly. You are forced into total presence. And because the Valente brothers method relies on leverage rather than muscle, it requires intense concentration. Let's take a foundational movement like a hip escape, which the article alludes to.
Okay, break that down for us.
So if a heavier opponent is on top of you, human instinct says to just push them off using your arms.
Right, just bench press them away.
But if they weigh 80 pounds more than you will exhaust your muscles in seconds and fail.
Right. Bench pressing a human being doesn't work for very long.
But the human body has a center of gravity located in the hips. A hip escape is a mechanical, precise movement where you bridge your weight onto your shoulders and you slide your pelvis out to the side.
Oh, so you're changing the angle of your body.
Yes, you're creating a frame with your bones, using physics to slide out from underneath the pressure rather than fighting strength with a strength. Or take a sweep.
A sweep is when you reverse a position so you end up on top, right?
Exactly. And again, you don't muscle them over. You wait for them to shift their weight. You trap the arm or leg that they would use to post or balance themselves, and you use their own momentum to tip them over like a table missing a leg.
Wow. It's pure physics. It's like human geometry.
It really is.
And learning the geometry requires you to close every single background process in your brain and focus entirely on the physical puzzle in front of you.
And by repeatedly forcing the brain to zero in on the precise mechanics of a hip escape or a sweep, Sarah was doing repetitions of focused attention. She was exercising a discipline muscle.
And here's the major takeaway from the article, I think. The discipline muscle doesn't just stay in the gym. It spills over.
It has to.
Right. By training her brain to focus under the immense physical pressure of someone holding her down, Sarah built the neurological capacity to focus under the emotional pressure of her daily life.
That's the real freedom.
Yeah, she literally gained the mental leverage to set boundaries. She learned how to say no to unnecessary commitments. She learned to navigate the chaos of her responsibilities with purpose, rather than just reacting to every single notification.
She used the discipline of the mat to buy herself the freedom to be present with her kids. She didn't escape her responsibilities, right? She gained the leverage to manage them efficiently.
That's a huge distinction, and this transitions us perfectly into the wider implications of this training. We've talked about Sarah on the mat, but the deep dive also pulls back to look at how this academy impacts the broader community of Colorado Springs.
Yeah, there's a specific quote in the article that really captures this transition from the individual to the outside world.
Oh, I know the one.
The author writes, "Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power."
It's such a crucial distinction, because knowing the physics of a hip escape is great. No one can steal that understanding from you. Material possessions can vanish, but that bodily knowledge is permanent.
Sure, it's yours forever.
But if it just stays a cool trick you do in a gym, it doesn't change your life. The tangible day-to-day freedom we are talking about only emerges when you take the discipline required to learn that technique and apply it off the mat.
To your career, to managing your anxiety, or, to repairing your relationships.
Exactly. And the Self-Defense Academy, COS, isn't just preaching this abstract idea of applied knowledge. They are actively engineering a culture around it.
They really are. Looking closely at the community reviews reveals an environment that completely shatters the stereotype of a combat sports gym.
It really does.
Yeah.
If you picture a martial arts gym, usually imagine a hyper-aggressive, intimidating, blood and sweat fight club.
Right, very exclusive.
But the community here is incredibly diverse. Reviewers consistently praise the head instructor, Flip Aguilar, for cultivating a holistic approach to self-defense. For example, you have parents leaving reviews about how the academy teaches character strength and focus to 4- and 5-year-olds.
Wait, really? 4-year-olds?
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's translating the concept of mental leverage to a kindergartner.
I know. But then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, there are reviews mentioning introductory classes sponsored by Silver Key.
And that's an organization dedicated to seniors, right?
Yep, older adults. And the instructor was praised for completely adapting the techniques to accommodate their physical limitations.
Which just proves that the core philosophy, efficiency, and leverage is universally applicable. It doesn't rely on being a 20-something athlete.
Not at all.
And the community outreach goes even further. Another reviewer mentioned that Flip conducts self-defense seminars for the Women's Bean Project.
That stood out to me as well. So the Women's Bean Project is a transitional employment program for women who are facing chronic unemployment, poverty, or who are trying to rebuild their lives after incarceration.
Wow.
Right? So going into that specific environment and teaching women how to physically protect themselves, that is the ultimate example of applied knowledge. It is a direct, literal transfer of autonomy and power to people who need it most.
It gives them agency over their own physical safety, which honestly is the foundational layer of personal freedom.
It really is. But I have to bring up my absolute favorite detail from this deep dive because it just illustrates the genius of their culture.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
In the reviews, multiple people like Chloe, Rachel, Angela raved about corporate team-building events hosted by the Academy. But they aren't just bringing accountants in to spar. They host a class called Sushi and Self-Defense.
Sushi and self-defense. It is a brilliant strategy to lower the barrier to entry.
It's so clever.
Because for an office worker, the idea of walking into a combat gym is terrifying. The intimidation factor prevents people from ever experiencing the benefits we've been discussing. But pairing it with a sushi-making class disarms that fear entirely.
It's a genius Trojan horse. But as I was reading those reviews, I realized there is an incredibly deep mechanical connection between those two activities.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, think about what it actually takes to make good sushi.
I guess it requires an intense tactile mindfulness.
Exactly. You are working with a razor-sharp blade. You have to feel the exact stickiness of the rice. You have to apply precise, even pressure when rolling the bamboo mat. You cannot be distracted, or the roll falls apart, or you cut yourself.
That's a great point.
Making sushi requires the exact same mental state, the exact same focused RAM allocation as executing a technical jiu-jitsu hold. You're feeling for balance, applying precise pressure, and staying completely present in your hands.
So you are practicing the exact same discipline, just in two different mediums. One involves raw fish, and the other involves wrist grabs. But both require you to close the 50 browser tabs in your brain and focus on the immediate physical reality in front of you.
By blending those two things together, they're introducing people to the concept of mindful leverage without them even realizing they're learning a martial art philosophy.
That's incredible.
And all of these examples, the kindergartners learning character strength, the seniors learning mobility, the women in transitional housing gaining autonomy, and the corporate workers discovering mindfulness through sushi, they all point back to the core mantra displayed right on the Academy's website.
You are worth defending.
That hits so hard when you understand the context.
Because it operates on multiple levels. Flip Aguilar and his team are teaching the physical mechanics of self-defense, yes. But the psychological premise that you inherently possess value worth protecting is what unlocks the larger freedom.
That internal freedom.
Right. If you truly believe you are worth defending, you won't just learn how to stop a physical attacker. You will fiercely protect your time from meaningless distractions. You will protect your brain's processing power from the chaos of a hyper-connected world. You will defend your own boundaries.
They are handing people the physical blueprints to become the architects of their own internal freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And, it cycles all the way back to Jocko Willink's intense pounding anthem that we started with.
It does. Discipline equals freedom.
Right. To get that freedom, to build that architecture, you have to embrace the discipline first. You have to do the hard thing. You have to leave the phone in the bag. You have to show up on the mat, and you have to learn how to focus.
You have to choose the uphill road, knowing that the easy path of constant distraction is actually the cage.
Which brings us to the end of our journey today. We started with the jarring realization that our desire for short-term comfort might be the very thing trapping us. We then traveled to the Self-Defense Academy, COS, to see how the Valente brothers method uses the strict laws of physical leverage to force mindfulness and basically clear out the exhausted RAM of our modern brains.
Like hitting that hard reboot.
Exactly. And we saw how that mat-tested discipline, when applied off the mat, empowers everyone from struggling single mothers to senior citizens to reclaim their autonomy.
It's beautiful, really.
It proves that true independence, the kind of durable personal freedom we celebrate every July, doesn't come from a lack of constraints. It comes entirely from within.
There is a quote featured at the very bottom of the Academy's article from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, and it synthesizes everything we've uncovered in these sources. He wrote, "Freedom is the will to be responsible to ourselves."
The will to be responsible to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
That is the ultimate application of discipline. So as you go about your day, whether there are fireworks lighting up the sky outside or it's just the quiet hum of your Tuesday afternoon, I'm going to leave you with a challenge to mull over. What is the one loud distraction or the one easy path you are currently giving into right now because it feels comfortable? And more importantly, what would your life look like if you applied just a little bit of that mat-tested mindful discipline to it tomorrow?